Hi everybody, Matt back with you. Hope you're okay. Today I'm in Leeds city centre. I'm currently in the Beckett Street Cemetery. This is a cemetery I've not been in before. It's quite a famous cemetery because it is one of the oldest publicly funded cemeteries in the UK, and certainly the oldest one in Leeds, dating from the 1840s. Now there are apparently about 180,000 people buried here, but we're going to see who we can find as we have a walk around. About 40 years ago there were plans for this graveyard to be completely flattened, all these memorials removed, and just to be grassed over, but obviously it was saved, thankfully, and is quite well looked after. Looking at it today, it looks like there might be some work going on here at the moment. There's a war memorial here as well. So the graveyard is in two separate sections: Anglican burials and Dissenter burials, and both are in very separate sections. Both have their own entranceway and their own gatehouse, which is what you saw at the entranceway. Between 1801 and 1850, the population of Leeds trebled, so there's a need for a bigger graveyard, and this was what was built. Obviously we are in the Dissenters area. There are also quite a lot of Commonwealth war graves here, so I'll show you those as we head round. It does look like a lot of the ground has moved over time. It looks like they're obviously doing some work here, which is a shame. There's a huge memorial at that side. The section behind me is quite a unique area in a graveyard. You don't see this very often. This is Guinea Grave Row, and a guinea grave is essentially, back in the 1880s, people were just charged a guinea for their burial, and rather than have a personal headstone or a family headstone, there would be one headstone with a number of different names on it. So I imagine these would have followed on, as you can see, March 31st, 1890, then April the 1st, April the 2nd, April the 3rd, etc, etc. And when that was full with the names, they would go on to the next one, and so on and so forth. And there are a lot of these guinea graves here. As I say, I've not really seen this type of grave anywhere else, but all these people, I believe, were in what was then the workhouse, but is now St James's Hospital, hidden away behind those trees over there. And the names would not just be on the front, they would also be listed on the back as well. Next we have Light Brigade Row. There's a very good reason for that. So this grave here is the grave of Frederick Short, who was a sergeant major with the Hussars, and the decoration of the swords and the hat there. He was with them for quite a few decades apparently, and also was part of the infamous charge of the Light Brigade. So this section is the Anglican walk, which is what I was mentioning earlier about there being two separate areas for burials, and the guinea graves are kind of in the middle of them all. Sadly, quite a few of these have been damaged. I think most of the graves with figures on have lost their heads, which I imagine is more from vandalism. Shame. This is the other gatehouse, used for the Anglican burials. Okay, they haven't all been damaged, unless that's a replacement. So like I said earlier, especially with those guinea graves being here, there are 180,000 people at least in this graveyard. I do keep finding other war graves. There's another one. Bottom one, well, near the middle. Samuel, son of the above, Sergeant of the 15th West Yorkshire Regiment, the Leeds Pals, killed in action in France. As you might expect when there are about 24,000 headstones, there's a couple I've not been able to find today. I have looked and looked, but I can't see them, so I'll add their information on now as to who I was looking for. Maybe if you're passing any time or have an interest, or see this video and you know where they are, perhaps you can let me know. Buried in the graveyard in 1937, at the age of 81, is John Wilkinson. Now, John lost his sight aged 22, so used his other senses and began to explore textures, tastes and shapes of leaves. And he became such an expert in this field that he was actually made Master of Science at Leeds University, and he was known as the Blind Botanist. Now, although I couldn't find it, this is a photo I've managed to find of the other gravestone I wanted to show you, which is a tribute to Fred Smith, who died in 1933. Fred was killed by a giant airliner at Alan Cobham's Flying Circus display at Middleton Park in 1933. Sadly crushed both him and another boy to death, which made newspaper headlines at the time. The inscription on his grave lists Cobham, the owner, and the pilot as being the responsible party in Fred's death. So yes, this is a unique graveyard, not only in its age as the first publicly funded graveyard in Leeds, but all these guinea graves are just unbelievable, really. There's hundreds and hundreds of them, with maybe 10 people per grave. I've never seen anything like that anywhere else, but if you've ever come across things like this, perhaps you could let me know. Sorry, the light isn't great for filming, but hopefully you can make out that there are a lot of these here. So that concludes our look at Beckett Street Cemetery. Just a couple of the stories behind the people who are here, stories of the past that show how different graveyards can be sometimes. So we'll see you soon for the next video. If you missed the earlier video, Happy New Year. We'll see where 2023 brings us.